And welcome back to ATM Blowouts, everyone. Now, let's have Anchor's chat. A news featuring into the news this morning says the President General of Apex Group, Ohaneze Ndigbo Emmanuel Iwanyanwu, yesterday said over 250 people have been killed since 2021 in the implementation of the sit-at-home order by its enforcers. He made a statement while speaking on the impact of the action on Southeast residents. So he kicked against its continuation, tagging it a legal order which have subjected the people to untold hardship and loss of lives and properties. Ohaneze once again condemns the incessant call for sit-at-home in the southeast by Simon Ekpa. It is indeed, he said, this happening that the people of the region are being subjected to hardships by these developments. Well, unfortunately, he says, several non-state actors in an attempt to enforce the order have unleashed mayhem on the people. He said as a result, many have been killed, maimed, and properties worth millions of naira destroyed. In addition, he said the sit-at-home orders have been instilling fear in residents, making it difficult for them to come out and transact their lawful businesses. Chief Iwanyanwu said the Southeast is known for micro, small and medium-scale enterprises, indigenous manufacturing, fabrication and agro-allied industries. He said to this end, several authorities have put the losses encountered by the people at trillions of naira on each sit-at-home day. The region has witnessed the loss of clients and customers who have found alternative because of the unstable business environment. He said the food transporters to the southeast now charge more so insecurity and the menace of unknown gunmen have worsened. Iwanyanwu maintained that we said was still over 250 people are estimated to have been killed through the enforcement of these orders. Well, I don't know where he got his statistics from, but it may as well be much more than that. If you look at between 2021 when Nnamdi Kanu was picked up and now, and the issues that have come forth from both the death of policemen and innocent people who had nothing to do with whatever was going on with the Southeast, as a matter of fact, were caught up in the menace. Now the question is, if we as Ohaneze, speaking about this in the media, I'm asking, is it really enough for us to say, oh, you've done the noble thing by, okay, condemning it, kicking against it and all of that? Understandably, that is your role, but I think it should go more than that. There is need to have proper conversation. The truth of the matter is, I honestly do not think that strangers coming to the southeast to carry out this enforcement order, sit-at-home order, I honestly do not think so. I honestly believe that what is going on is that Igbos are being used against Igbos. For instance, IPOB have come out to say, we don't know this man. In fact, they've even accused him of being a spy to DSS, trained by Nigerian government to carry out some form of a spy duty for them by creating mayhem within the Southeast. But that's an accusation from IPOB. So we are okay. Someone will say, so who is Simon Ekpa? Who is IPOB? Are they different and not all of that? Well, maybe not. The thing is, what Simon Ekpa is doing right now, I mean, they assumed, I guess, from inertia that if they do this, it's going to help to put an end to force the government's hand to release Nnamdi Kanu. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. But now, like we say, conflict entrepreneurs have taken over the process, and here we are talking about making these things happen. Now, how is it going to happen if we are making it stop? I beg your pardon. How is it going to stop if the mindset of the average young Igbo person is still bent on being marginalized? Is still bent on not talking about how to release Nnamdi Kanu and give them Biafra and nothing more. So I feel that Ohaneze Ndigbo condemning this or raising the issue that over 250 persons are estimatedly, killed by the enforcers of this sit-at-home order. That's okay, but I think we should go beyond that. I think we need to begin to look at what is in it and what is not in it. And I say that because if you look around what is going on now, then ask yourself, why is ABCD the way ABCD is? You discover that these people were brainwashed for so long. Radio Biafra, You know how Nnamdi Kanu used that medium to, talk to the people, to paint a picture of being marginalized and all of that. And of course, he did not just leave it at the doorstep of the federal government. It's how its governors were all taken into hostage by him when he was making those declarations and talking about the marginalization processes and all of that. But I wish that we can begin to hold ourselves accountable and responsible for what is going on in the Southeast. I said I wish because we know that no Southeastern state has ever been denied their monthly allocation from the crude allocation from the federal government. There is no Pari Club refund or their security votes or Abacha loot. There is no money that comes into this country as a republic that is shared among states for any reason that Abia State, Ebonyi State, Enugu State, Imo State, or Anambra State that don't get their ratio of what should come to them. Now just take a mental picture and begin to imagine where, Akwa Ibom State rises up and says, South rises up and says, we are being marginalized because ABCD happened. Don't get me wrong. Talking about the 3R reconstruction and all of that, that should have happened. We hold the federal government, whoever is in seat, responsible for not ensuring that proper healing takes place within the Southeast and the South and every other sector of the region of this country that still feels the brunt of the education. Who stopped them from doing the needful? Your governors, who stopped them from making sure that you have proper education in the Southeast? So I ask again, who is marginalizing who? How are you being marginalized? How is the federal government marginalizing you? Until it was realized that the problem is more within the Igbos, much more as it is nationally. Because whatever you're going through as a state in the South, trust me when I say in the Southeast, I don't know if you want to compare it to what some of the northern states are going through. I mean, ours is not as bad as not having the issue about education, poor quality education or lack of education as the case may be, and several other issues that those in the northern parts of the country may be going through, and issues that other parts of the countries may be going through. So if we begin to look at the marginalization or any form of unfair treatment as something the government is doing to us, I think we'll continue to get it wrong as a people. So I hope that Ohanaeze will find a way to get back to the drawing board and begin to ask certain questions and begin to have an action plan that gets to the grassroots, uses the media. There's need for media campaign. There is need for grassroots campaign. There is need to create this paradigm shift in the minds of the people to get them to learn to hold their government accountable and responsible for what is going on. It's until we get to the point where the government refuses to release allocation to the southeastern states, we can now say, oh, we're being marginal. But so look at what OT is pushing for right now in just about 2 months in office. Ask yourself, Ibazu was there for, as Abia State governor, for 8 good years. He's an Angwa man. And look at the state of Aba. What is his excuse for not fixing? Forget about Omar here. Forget about any part of Abia State. What is Ibazu's reason for not fixing Aba? I mean, he is an Ongwa man. That is his own place. But he built a palatial country home. And he's living among people whom he has become a spectator to. So I ask again, who is marginalizing who? So I hope that Ohanaeze will go beyond talking about the number of people killed and then the attempt to end the sit-at-home order and get to the grassroots, create a proper campaign program that will go ahead to re-engineer the minds of the Southeasterners. This is not just about asking for Nnamdi Kanu to be released. It's far beyond that. This is not just about saying 250 people were killed or want to end sit-at-home. The people who are, for instance, in Enugu State, it's called what happened where the enforcement started. They came out and their shops were locked. They began to attack those who obeyed the governor's orders. When it comes to doing what we need to do for ourselves as a people, and then we've said something in the news, and that Ohanaeze go beyond news, press releases, and sitting on TV or radio stations to talk about this. have an action plan to create a new paradigm in the minds of the people of Southeast. And until this is done, even if Nnamdi Kanu is released today, there is a Simon Ekpa, who knows another one that will, rise its head from somewhere, and then the story continues. So until there is a paradigm that creates the right mindset in the minds of the people, that gets them to understand what is actually going on, then that is why you have the media. That's why you need to go to the grassroots, create TV promos, jingles, what have you, sponsor this on social media, do whatever you need to do to ensure that there is a paradigm shift in the minds of the people from what they think and feel right now as the marginalized people of Nigeria, to taking responsibility and finding a way to hold their governors accountable at all levels. I honestly believe that if Ohaneze can cue into this and do something, and not just be the Apex Igbo, the Apex Igbo socio-cultural group, it has to go beyond that and begin to, we want to see real action plan to ensure that the re-engineering of the minds of the Southeasterners begins as soon as possible. I believe that is the only way you can go, you can stop them from being used against themselves. There's much you can do on Anchor's chat. Stay with us. We are going to be talking about the NLC strike as we make progress. Don't go away.
traveling to the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
You human trafficker.
Honorable
You are a human trafficker.
They are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
So no agreement with the EU, but
welcome back to ATM Blowout. Now is 2nd of August, everyone, and of course, NLC said they are going on this strike. There's no stopping them for whatever reason. But we have the Constitution man seated live in the studio with me right about now, Barrister Asim Adams. Good to have you here this morning.
Good morning to you, Vivian. Good morning to Nigerians.
Good to have you. And then our major conversation on the news, of course, is going to be around this the NLC strike.
Yes.
We're going to be having that conversation as we get live views from the field. We'll bring you stories from what is going on in Port Harcourt and different parts of the country. But let's start with the issues that led to the strike in the first place. So the Nigerian Labour Congress President Joe Ajero have asked workers and Nigerians to discount tenants' report that the proposed mass protest has been called off, following the federal government's position that they will do the right thing and call off the strike. And also President Ajero, who countered the federal government's position, says we have no reason to call off the planned protest. If we suspend or call it off, you will know. I can tell you that the mobilization is very high. Now, that the NLC held the rescheduled meeting with steering committee on palliatives at the presidential villa in Abuja yesterday, on Monday, and of course yesterday. The union had openly expressed doubts about President Bola Tinubu's ability to control inflation, gasoline prices due to the unification of the exchange rate. That's one of the things. We'll bring you details of what you're asking for much later. So while speaking to correspondent, Ajero did say that the plan for workers to proceed on a peaceful protest from Wednesday has not changed. However, he said it is the responsibility of security agencies to provide security for the protest to protect the workers. He also said the meeting of the steering committee adjourned till 12 noon yesterday was to enable the labor leaders to listen to the president's national broadcast on Monday while reacting to Tinubu's plan to intervene on exchange rates over inflation and the high cost of gasoline prices. Ajero said, by the time you have a single market and you are not having anything that have a comparative advantage, he said your energy is import driven, then how are you going to control it? How are you going to control somebody that exchanged dollar at about 900 naira? Are you going to tell him to sell below the price? How are you going to tell everyone tell even the power generating company or the distribution that the cost of production not to increase tariff? Even corn in the villages that was sold for at 8,000 naira by February, now it's about 56,000. How are you going to control it? Like I said, we'll bring you details of what NLC is asking, but let's look at this strike from the federal government angle right now, Barrister Asim. So the federal government, Femi Gbajabiamila came out yesterday to say, oh, they've discussed that they believe that Labour is going to call off the strike. But here we are, the strike is on.
Well, we thank God that for the first time, Labour has lived up to their expectations. We were looking at Labour that Labour would disappoint again like they did 5 times before now. 2003, under the Shomole administration of Labour, they disappointed us. They called out, they were, telling us that it was going to be the mother of all, protests. And at the end of the day, it did not see the light of the day. We found out that they chickened out somewhere, somehow. Then in 2018 onwards, just like that, by memory, about 5 times, consecutive 5 times, that Labour, prompted and wanted to call Nigerians out. But at the end of the day, when Nigerians were prepared and oiled to join the protest, what happened was that they called it off at midnight. So I am not surprised that at this point in time, that Nigerians are circumspect and with prevarications, they are looking at Labour as going to play the same old band. So that is why we're looking at them with our hands akimbo. We're standing akimbo. Then we watch and see how things unfold. Today has come, just like Spurina told Julius Caesar, beware of the Ides of March. And the Ides of March was 15th of March of that year. I think 1661 BC or thereabout. That was the time Spurina the sorcerer, told Julius Caesar that he should beware of that Ides of March, which was on the 15th of March. From what I read, when that 15th of March came, Julius Caesar, met Spurina somewhere along the road and asked him and said, today is the 15th of March that you talk about. Spurina looked up to Julius Caesar and told him, yes, the day has just begun. This is the 15th of March. Yes, the day has not ended. So we hope, from what we are hearing, and what Labour has mobilized, that they will be on their tentacles and do the right thing, as they said. The day is still young. That is my own take on this.
All right. We'll just take a very quick break, everyone. Stay with us. We'll be back in a jiffy. All right, welcome back to ATM Blowout. Now let's continue with the conversation. But I just this is more like an open conversation kind of thing. After the gentleman in the studio, we have Barrister Sim Adams, and then we have Ugochukwu Oputa, who has just joined us. Good morning and welcome to ATM Blowout, Ugochukwu.
Good morning, Vivian. Good morning, Nigerians.
And then we have good morning. Covered that while all of that was going on, he was trying to, have a kind of what pun, play with it to say, oh, we said this is what it's going to be, and that's not what it turned out to be. So my concern here is, if we are looking at this to be what it's supposed to be, the federal government is saying we don't want you to do this. But between 27th of May and all the meetings they've had, what has come out of this, if you may? It's for you.
Vivian, you see, the issue of strikes and labor. First of all, we need to understand what was their core. What is their core ideology? Why labor union was formed, and this was to add as a pressure group. Like a counterweight to the administrative body. And
as well, that's at this morning. Do you see this as a way out of the... Mr. Dadan? Okay.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Did you get my question?
All right, and good morning to your guests. I was saying... Yes, I got the question. I got the question. If you can hear me, I will just proceed.
Yes, we can hear you.
I said I got your question. Can I proceed?
Yes, please.
Okay, I was saying that anything protest in Nigeria is not new. It is permitted within the legal frameworks of our country. So the NLC embarking on a protest, it's welcome, and I want to plead with the police to ensure that they provide adequate security. Now, it's tricky. I don't know why the NLC is calling it a protest instead of strike. I know that the matter is at industrial court, and there is an injunction that stopped the NLC from embarking on the strike. The last time they wanted to go on strike, maybe because of that injunction, they decided to call it a protest instead of coming out directly to call it a strike. But looking at some of the demands they have made, I also think that some of those demands are also judicial issues. They are in court already. For instance, the demand that the 8-month salaries of ASU should be released. That's still in court. Excuse me. ASU has appealed that judgment. Fairly, you can say that strike has been a tool that has delivered some level of successes, especially for the NLC, even though sometimes not total in terms of the demands the union usually puts on the table. My take on this present strike or protest is that initially I didn't want the NLC to embark on this strike. But however, the fact that the federal government, while negotiations were still ongoing, shows that the federal government may not be sincere after all. And this has been the challenge. There is this trust deficit between the people and the government. And over time, we are seeing government, not doing anything to bridge this trust gap. So while you are negotiating with the union and you still went ahead to increase the pump price to 617 and all of that. So even the government on their part has also violated the terms of the injunction, because the terms asked everybody to stay action and let the status quo remain. And while we were still battling the 520, 530, and the government increased the pump price. So for the success of the strike, so far it has started. I'm not on the field now because of this program. After this program, I'll be jumping out, to join them. So in terms of what it can deliver, we hope that at the end of the day, that it will force government, to return to the status quo. And
the The first on the demand on NLC list is immediate implementation in good faith of the resolutions with Congress jointly signed with the government and TUC, which is part of what Mr. Dada has mentioned. Then the second one on the list is immediate reversal of all anti-poor policies of government, including the recent hike in PMS price, school fees, and VAT. The next on the list is fix our refineries in Port Harcourt, Warri, and Kaduna State. And then they said release of 8 months withheld salaries of university lecturers and workers. Okay. Now it said accord appropriate recognition and support to the Presidential Steering Committee and the work of its subcommittees. They also said they should put a stop to inhuman actions and policies of government. Well, gentlemen, what caught my attention here is the second part. I mean, the one for the 8-month salary of the university workers. That is something that the industrial court already said. They don't. Basically, that is no work, no pay. That's no work, no pay policy that we got. But let's look at the number 2 on that list now. And they are saying immediate reversal of anti-poor policies of government, including the recent hike in PMS price, school fees, and VAT. So on Monday evening, the 7 p.m. live broadcast the president had, you guys, you gentlemen, you remember he said that there's no going back on the fuel subsidy removal.
True.
Now, if NLC, how realistic are this is what I'm trying to say. If NLC is saying no reversal of anti-poor policy of government, and we talked about hiking PMS, let's even leave school fees. Let's talk about PMS first.
Yeah, I'm looking at, you see, this is where I have serious problems with the Nigerian Labour Congress. They have really not, they have started again by bringing a potpourri of demands, which for me makes it very difficult for government to achieve or maybe resolve all these 5-6 demands, you know, with them at this point in time. The reason why most Nigerians are enthusiastic about about the protest, the reason why you see most Nigerians want to, join the Labour Congress to protest on this is because of the fuel hike. People are interested in the fuel hike. Now, the fuel hike is where we are interested. You see, when you begin to cocoon all this together with your personal demands of increase in salary for your workers, etc., as the case may be, a lot of us will disassociate ourselves from it, because you are fighting for workers who are under your umbrella. For those of us who are in the private sector, what happens to us? In the minimum wage that they said is 30,000 naira, most private companies in Nigeria don't able to pay that minimum wage, and nobody is fighting for those people, the workers under the private umbrella. So if you bring a university that they should pay a backlog of arrears of salaries to teachers of university, I mean, as soon they've gone on strike for that program, their members should be able to fight for that and turn this to a strike and not a protest.
Okay.
You understand? Because
I'll come to you. I just learned that our Port Harcourt correspondent has arrived at the Labour office. Williams. Okay, we have Utibe Dolph, who will be reporting from the Labour office. Good morning, Uti. How is it going down there at Labour office in Port Harcourt? Are there arrivals? Are there people on ground? The NLC said 7 a.m. Are they on ground? Are the civil society people there? What's going on right now? Hello, Uti.
Can you hear me right now?
Yes, we can.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you now.
We are here. We have the ESCOs on ground, and of course the civil society groups and other affiliates already on ground. While we are waiting for the major ESCOs to come up.
Okay,
hello, can you hear me?
Yes, what's the arrival? Is it just the civil society people? Who are those present right now at the Labour office in Rivers State?
Okay, we have the chairman of the committee, the Labour committee is here, and the chairman of the Pengas National Association is also here. And also we have the was from the Midwives Association of Nigeria. We also have other staff from the Labour Office right here now.
So with the arrival you have on ground right now, with the arrival you have on ground right now, what are the chances that this is going to happen? As the NLC have said that this must happen today.
Okay, very well. There are 80% chances that the nationwide protest is going to hold. Of course, they are set to brief the people.
From your
and
background, yes,
on
we
the
can see that the
reasons.
police have arrived, and which is a good thing. Is there any of the labor officials on ground that we can speak with?
Yes, they are actually fixing up to
press briefing. Would like to join you for that. Until then, we'll come back to you when they are ready to brief the press.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. So let me come to you now, Ugochukwu. Well, clearly the strike is. Oh, sorry, it's not strike. They said it's protest.
That is protest.
We don't want to break the law, so clearly the protest is ongoing. But it's a good thing we just saw the police walk into the Labour Office, which is, like I said, the IG was saying, oh, conflict entrepreneurs might hijack it and all of that. But still on this demand
to a negotiation table is being narrowed down. However, like the other speaker said, it's important. Barrister Sim, yeah, as he highlighted, it's important that the goal are well spelled out. What is being looked at getting, because the pump price, the reversing the pump price, we all knew why the pump price went up. The issue of subsidy, which I felt was a long overdue decision. But where we have problems with that action is the cushioning effect. You know, what those that knew in 2012, those that were against it and have come to the realization that this ought to go are in full support of it.
Okay, I'll come back to you. Mr. Dada, now let's talk about fixing our local refineries in Port Harcourt, Warri and Kaduna State. Well, for 8 years, before his tenure, but why would you say that?
I am saying this because I followed, this thing copiously and studiously about the fixing of the Nigeria refineries. I will share a little secret with you. You know, somehow, sometime in 1994, 95, I witnessed as a civilian has been able to turn around or maintain the 4 refineries that we have in Nigeria. Likewise, like their larger steel company, we had a Jakarta Steel Company. These are pivotal, industrial, hubs that should have provided employment and even foreign exchange for Nigeria, but they be left to go into a state of comatose as it is. So when people begin to talk about turning around maintenance or maintaining our refineries, the Buhari administration told us that they are going to maintain all refineries in Nigeria before they exit government in 4 years, 8 years. But they have exited government. Monies were spent. Nobody has been held responsible for embezzling, funds in dollars that were meant for that turnaround maintenance of the refineries. So I don't think from these refineries that are down. Now, as you are trying to turn around your refineries, an individual that we feel was prepared by government and whatever as the case may be, was able to build a refinery which we term as one of the biggest refineries in the world. The question I'm asking is this: Nigeria will always build a thing they say is one of the biggest in the world. Do you think the other people do not know or do not have that technical know-how for them to build the biggest refineries in the world? There's a reason why America has not built the biggest refinery in the world. There's a reason why you find that Holland have not built the biggest refineries in the world. There's a reason for that. I don't know why we say the biggest refinery in the world. So And we found that that same particular cabal clique running around and doing things, about our refinery. So I seriously doubt, although I am not a doubting Thomas, but people say we can give them what they call benefit of the doubt. If I'm to give them benefit of the doubt, I will give them 10% benefit of the doubt to turn around our refineries. But 90% of it, I doubt whether we will have any sincerity or purpose in turning around our refineries today in Nigeria. That is the way I see it. It has become a big contraption, corrupt contraption, because refineries are not working. I heard that they are still paying their workers.
All right.
So I don't know. I heard they are still paying their workers.
And that costs
so I don't know exactly.
Billion annually.
I don't really know what we are doing. It's a shameful thing. So I don't think this admission will not do better than the other ones I've seen.
We'll come back to you, Gochukwu. Mr. Dada, here is the thing now. This protest is themed like the poor breathe. They literally took the president's line when he said, let the poor breathe. How can the poor breathe? How do you think the NLC can achieve the ability for the poor to breathe? Considering that some of the things they're asking for doesn't even look realistic, if I may say, when you talk about reversal of school fees and VAT, and of course a hike in pump price, what is the reality that this is going to work, and how can the poor breathe? Okay, let me come to bring that to you, Gochukwu.
Can you hear me?
It's important that that concept of the poor, because if you check on that former President Buhari, we heard that about over 90 million Nigerians were under multi-dimensional poverty.
No, the latest one.
Yeah, that's what. Now the latest one is about 101.
13 million plus.
You see, so on multi-dimensional poverty, and it means that we're drifting more. It means that the poor.
Is it 133?
No, yeah, 133
million,
from 90 million to 133
million.
So you see, it means that as the day goes by, the poor are suffocating. So
there's less oxygen to keep the poor alive.
So it's important that we scream in our loudest form, let the poor breathe. And that word would go on the marble. It will be tagged, let the poor breathe, Bola Ahmed Tinubu 2023. Because as a family man, I know what I'm going through. And these bills are coming multi-dimensionally. From
the income doesn't seem to correspond with what
stunted growth. Stunted growth. Everything increases, just your income flow. Stunted. And that's why you see the worsening, the follow-up actions are people would now take to life of crime. Insecurity increases because that would seem like the easy way out. And when you convince people to go legit and you see strangulation is coming on, how do you convince them otherwise? Our youths go around the streets of Nigeria. You see our youth now patronizing bets, people patronizing bets because
that has how they broke into the government warehouse and private individuals' warehouses to cut away whatever they could find their hands.
The point is, if I may just add a voice to this, is this. Let me say with due respect, Nigeria is school of politics and constitution for them to look at this constitution to say that where you and why you are going there is because of the fact that Nigeria practices constitutional democracy. If you as a local government chairman, the governor of a state, the president, the commissioner, whoever that is, I do not think that we'll be having this kind of problems that we are doing. Implement those particular provisions of that particular chapter, for instance 14 sub 2b that says welfare and security. All these things labor are angling, and every 2 years they come out. Labor since I was born, as the case may be. So if we can, churn out and put facilities in place, it's not even the refineries. I'm looking at people say they waste money there. Let these people accommodation, school fee, education. Most of us, we are mini governments in our own houses. We pay school fees. You go to the hospital, they will charge you. If you don't want to wait at the government hospitals, you have to look for private clinics to go and go to, and they are very expensive. What do you want us to do? You increase fuel price again. Now we don't have food in the house because they say food scarcity and there's no food security, as the case may be. Your child is sick. Government will not come to your aid. Why won't we come out this time and join labor to fight government? For the first time, I'm going to participate in a protest, or whatever they call it, in Rivers State today. I will join them. But let me
should achieve a meaningful solution and preventing any form of violence and disruption and all of that. He said he reaffirmed that any attempt by miscreants to exploit the situation for violent purposes vis-a-vis vandalism, gangsterism and extortion will be met with firm, professional and commensurate a lawful approach. He said the police will not tolerate any acts that threatens the peace and well-being of our country. That's a point where, because the federal government have tried to be proud to this, try to see how they can stop labor from going on the strike. But Ugochukwu, you and I know that, of course, as we see that didn't work because the protest is on across the country. The need for protest and the rights for protest, the need is basically what labor has listed in their judgment, and the right to protest. Why is it that every time that in recent time anyway, people talk about protest, the government through the government officials like the police is always making it look like it's going to be, is it not constitutionally their responsibility to ensure that the people are protected?
Exactly the point I wanted to make. You know, when people when you're involved in politics for a long time, you know that every statement is made with a deliberate intention. You know, so when they that I can tell you that the current president was a former governor of Lagos State, and you know, and in course of that 2020 saga, you know, his name was thrown up as part of the major actors, you know. So if it comes to neutralizing protest through infusing some touch of violence here and there, someone will not say that our current president is not someone that is skilled in that act. You can understand why people would be skeptical. But I think that I support the labor to go on protest. Again, in lies, mistrust is everywhere, but we can just do what ought to be done. Thank you.
Okay, now
let me just quickly add to. You see, the police, IGP or police, should be aware that there are plethora, litany of decided cases and laws to back up what labor is doing today, or any group at all, insofar as that particular protest is peaceful, as the case may be. The courts have heard, particularly in a case, guide them and prevent hoodlums hijacking this situation. The whole of that section 83 talks about public safety and talks about order, public order. 84 also mandates the CP of the state in times like this to provide cover and security against lives and property, those who want to threaten life and property. It is the duty of the CP. You should not leave that at the table of the NLC to say they are the ones to sift out hoodlum citizens, as the case may be. You already see that whenever LLCs do their protest, they wear a particular vest that will show that these are labor people. Now, how do that hijack? Like what happened in the NSAS period was because of the fact that government allowed whatever they
in the news. So the Senate, during the screening of ministerial nominees for the second day yesterday, said it will forward all petitions sent to it against the ministerial nominees to the presidency and security agency. The Senate President Godswill Akpabio made the statement during the screening of the nominee from Kaduna State, Malam Nasir El-Rufai. This is following announcement by the senator representing Kogi West under the platform of the All Progressive Congress, Sunday Karimi, that he has a strong petition given to him against the former Kaduna State Governor El-Rufai. According to the Senator Karimi, the petition against El-Rufai bordered on the unity of the country. Though the senators from Kaduna State said El-Rufai should take a bow and go. The petition was submitted to the Deputy Senate President Barrow Jibrin, who was at the time sitting as the chairman of the Senate Committee of the Whole. While after the Senate President Akpabio returned to his seat as the chairman, he said they are nominees of President.
Down to his son on Twitter, you see they make a whole lot of ethnic slurs and divisive, insightful statement. Most recently is the video that went around where he boastfully, made religious acts about being in control and about the fact that a certain religious can never become president. So those statements alone is against the core ideology and formation of this of a country as a multi-ethnic and multi-religious nation like Nigeria, and the judiciary arm of government. And when you see someone who is supposed to be a counterbalance to the executive arm saying that these are nominees of the president, nominees of the president does not mean that they are absolute. The whole essence of sending ministerial nominees to the legislative arm is for them to, rectify the actions of the president. It's for them to rectify, so they have the right to disagree with the nomination. Because the president is one individual from Lagos State, however, elected by Nigerians to play a role. But the Senate have representatives
who know what they are coming to do. Like in El-Rufai's case, they were asking him about electricity, and I'm wondering, what they ask him about electricity? What has he done about electricity before? Is he an electrical engineer, a civil engineer? What exactly? It didn't make sense to me, but that was also a play out. So I want to ask you now, like I always call you the constitution man. I'm a bit befuddled when I look at this. This is not the first time we're having this situation. I'm asking, what is the constitutional requirement for screening? I don't know if there's anything like that in the constitution anyway, but you're the constitution man. For screening these ministerial nominees, why do we always send them into the Senate for screening and no portfolio? They are talking about 2 credits. Now we're talking about a man who Nigerians are shocked to see that he's actually in the list of the president's ministerial nominees.
To select ministers the way he wants to, but insofar as let each state be represented in your cabinet, that's number one. Number two is that as well as selecting ministers, there shall be an attorney general of the federation, as the case may be. But for that ministers, it is at the whims and caprices of the president to so give the list and later do. Finally, if you have followed this event, like other people, other administration have been, Femi Gbajabiamila came out and said the reason why the president did not attach portfolios to some of all these positions was because of the fact that the president do not want to be confused in case he wants to change somebody. For instance, I can make El-Rufai Minister of Works, and maybe in the next 2 days I find out that he's not fit and proper for that position, and I want to change him. Will he come back to the Senate for screening? I cannot hold him. That is how the Nigerian government is, by virtue of this constitution that is hollow and filled with landmines. That is why they are manipulating it. Calling on assigning portfolios to others by virtue of section 147, 148. But section 150 says there shall be an attorney general of the federation. So you can even bring in Lateef Fagbemi and say this is the AG Federation portfolio. So you can interview and screen him on that, because that is directly stated in the constitution that has to be done. So he has broken the law. The presidency of Nigeria is a presidency that filled with impunity and ferocious audacity. That is why we are having this kind of problems. He's the most powerful man in the world, the most powerful president in the world. And it's so sad that the constitution gives so much latitude and power to a sitting president of Nigeria to do this and manipulate things in his favor and at his whims and caprices. That is why we are suffering. Today, I must, this is my opinion, but I feel it is because of that they can do anything they like.
All right, thank you. At least we know we've established the fact that President Tinubu have started out like his predecessor, consciously breaking the law, because with Femi Gbajabiamila there and of course the legal reporters. The movement led by Nnamdi Kanu debunked the claims made by Ejimako, stating that Ekpa's supporters were the same as Kanu's followers. So in a statement on Tuesday, IPOB's Media and Publicity Secretary Ima Powerful clarified that while some misguided supporters of ECPA were indeed followers of Kanu, the majority of ECPA's supporters were opponents of the IPOB mission. ECPA, who heads his own group called Autopilot and has declared himself their prime minister, was accused of working against IPOB's efforts. IPOB's leadership warned against any assumption that ECPA has any connection with Kanu and the movement. Guchku, I'm coming to you. This issue right now, this is like the second denial or disowning of ECPA in about 36 hours, if you may. First place as well.
Thinking, and I said it's sad that the whole Biafra struggle has been reduced to the people start talking, because this was a struggle that came all the way from Masob, you know, and up to this point. And you can see that Simon Ekpa, the man in Finland, have been able to make a franchise out of it, and is not interested in whatever. I live in the southeast. I work in Anambra State. And I can tell you that the sit-at-home civil disobedience did not start even with Nnamdi Kanu. The Mossab then, during May 30th, they were sit-at-home. I remember that time at Ikoku, where you see the throw Biafra flag across a wire, and you see it around there, and everybody obeyed that civil disobedience. It was more like, you know, in remembrance of May 30th. It did not start with them. The whole approach was, you know, when you do that, then you go back and all. But then you see someone declaring 2 weeks sit at home, 1 week sit at home. It started with the usual Monday sit at home, then to whenever